Here's something most men never realize. Women don't always fall for the guys who look the best, have the most money, or say all the right things. In fact, science shows that what truly attracts women often has nothing to do with surface level qualities at all. The real magnetism lies in subtle traits that most men overlook, behaviors that trigger deep emotional and biological attraction, often without either person realizing it's happening. Think about it. Have you ever seen a woman completely drawn to a man who didn't fit the typical definition of attractive? Maybe he wasn't the tallest or the richest guy in the room, but somehow she couldn't stop paying attention to him. That's not an accident. That's psychology. There are specific, unusual traits that activate a woman's curiosity, trust, and desire. Traits that quietly communicate strength, depth, and emotional intelligence. Modern dating often teaches men to fake confidence, act dominant, or play games. But here's the catch. Women can sense when it's not real. What truly pulls her in is the man who's calm under pressure, emotionally independent, aware of himself, and moves through life with a purpose that doesn't revolve around her. These are the men who stand out not because they try to impress, but because their energy naturally commands respect. And yes, this isn't just opinion. It's backed by psychology and behavioral science. Studies show that subtle signals like emotional control, unpredictability, and depth of self-awareness trigger attraction far more powerfully than appearance alone. So, in this video, we're breaking down 5 unusual traits that secretly make men more attractive to women, all backed by science. Some of these might surprise you. They might even challenge how you think about attraction altogether. Welcome to the channel. If you're ready to understand female psychology on a deeper level and finally master what women actually respond to, then stay with me. You're about to learn the traits that make women pay attention, not just for a moment, but for good. Calm under pressure, the silent signal of strength. 1. Calm under pressure, the silent signal of strength. One of the most underrated traits that makes a man instantly more attractive to women is his to stay calm under pressure. Science actually supports this. Studies on stress response show that women subconsciously read a man's emotional state through his body language, voice tone, and reactions. When a man remains grounded, especially in uncomfortable or uncertain situations, it signals emotional stability, something that women are biologically wired to find irresistible. Think about it. Life constantly throws chaos at us. Traffic, confrontation, rejection, misunderstandings. Most people react emotionally. They argue, they panic, or they let frustration take over. But when a man doesn't lose control, when he keeps his composure and stays centered, he communicates something powerful without saying a word. I can handle things. That quiet confidence doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from self-mastery. A man who's calm under pressure shows he's not controlled by external events. And that sense of inner control makes women feel both safe and intrigued. Because here's the truth. Women don't just look for men who are strong physically, they look for men who are mentally strong. Imagine a moment where everything around you goes wrong. Maybe plans fall apart or someone tries to provoke you. Instead of reacting, you breathe, observe, and respond only when necessary. You don't try to win the argument or prove a point. You just hold your ground with quiet certainty. That behavior stands out. It separates you from the majority of men who lose composure when things get tough. Psychologically, calmness under pressure taps into something primal. It shows leadership. It reflects a sense of security. And on a deeper level, it reassures women that your emotions won't crumble when life tests you or when a relationship becomes challenging. So, if you want to become more attractive instantly, don't focus on being flashy or overly dominant. Work on being composed. Build emotional control. Start by practicing stillness, pausing before reacting, controlling your breathing, and refusing to be easily shaken. This small shift in your energy can completely change how women perceive you. 2. Emotional independence. Why emotional independence? Why needy men turn women off. Instantly needy men turn women off instantly. One of the strongest predictors of long-term attraction, according to multiple psychological studies, is emotional independence. This doesn't mean being cold, distant, or unbothered. It means your sense of happiness, confidence, and stability doesn't depend on anyone else, not even the woman you like. Here's why it matters. Women are highly attuned to emotional energy. When a man becomes too reactive, constantly seeking validation, overexting, or worrying about what she thinks, she can feel that emotional dependence. And while she might not consciously label it as neediness, her attraction naturally begins to drop. It's a biological response. Women are drawn to men who appear emotionally secure and grounded because it signals maturity and leadership. Needy behavior, on the other hand, signals the opposite. When a man's mood rises and falls based on a woman's attention, it creates pressure. She starts to feel like she's responsible for how he feels. And that's never attractive. It makes her pull back because deep down she wants a man who can stand strong on his own, not someone who needs her presence to feel okay. Emotional independence is power. It shows that you've built a life that fulfills you, your goals, your routines, your interests, your peace. When you bring that energy into dating, women notice. You don't chase attention. You don't panic when she takes time to reply, and you don't overthink her moods. You remain centered. That kind of presence creates a contrast because most men don't have it. Science calls this non-reactivity, and it's been proven to enhance perceived dominance and emotional intelligence. When you're emotionally independent, you give off the message that you choose her, but you don't need her. And that difference makes all the difference. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely being okay with or without her. When you live from that place, your attraction grows effortlessly because women can sense when a man's energy is self-sustained. 3. Controlled. Controlled vulnerability, showing depth. Without losing power, vulnerability, showing depth without losing power. Most men believe showing vulnerability will make them look weak. But science says the opposite. When done right, vulnerability makes you more trustworthy, emotionally intelligent, and deeply attractive to women. The key is knowing how to show it in a way that communicates depth, not desperation. Studies in social psychology reveal that when men express certain emotions like empathy, authenticity, and honesty, women subconsciously associate those traits with confidence and maturity. Why? Because it takes strength to be real in a world where most people are pretending. Vulnerability, when balanced with self-assurance, becomes a sign of inner security. It shows you're not afraid of being seen for who you really are. The problem is that many men misunderstand vulnerability. They think it means oversharing their insecurities, constantly venting, or seeking sympathy. That's not attractive. It's emotional dumping. Controlled vulnerability, on the other hand, is when you're honest about your thoughts and feelings without letting them control you. It's the difference between saying, "I've had hard days, but I'm working through them, and I can't handle this anymore." The first one earns respect. The second creates distance. When you reveal a piece of yourself from a place of strength, women feel a deeper connection. It breaks the surface-level dynamic that most men stay stuck in. They start to see you as more human, not just another man trying to impress them, but someone with real emotional awareness. From a psychological standpoint, vulnerability also activates empathy in women. It triggers the part of the brain that responds to trust and emotional safety. And that's huge, because emotional safety is one of the foundations of lasting attraction. But remember, vulnerability should complement your strength, not replace it. If you constantly seek reassurance, she'll see it as emotional neediness. If you share your truth with calmness and control, she'll see it as courage. That balance is everything. 4. Unpredictability. The psychology of keeping her intrigued. Unpredictability. The psychology of keeping her intrigued. One of the most fascinating scientific findings about attraction is that uncertainty increases desire. It sounds manipulative at first, but it's pure psychology. When something or someone feels unpredictable, our brains release more dopamine, the chemical tied to excitement, anticipation, and reward. And this is why women are more drawn to men who have a sense of mystery, spontaneity, or emotional depth they can't fully figure out. Now, this doesn't mean you should play games or act inconsistent. What it means is this: women get emotionally hooked when they can't quite predict you. When your reactions, thoughts, or behavior don't fit the typical nice guy pattern, it makes her curious. That curiosity creates tension, and tension is what fuels attraction. The mistake most men make is trying to be too agreeable, too available, or too predictable. They text back instantly. They always say yes, and they make their feelings obvious too soon. While that seems honest and straightforward, it removes all mystery. Women stop wondering, and when curiosity disappears, so does emotional excitement. Science calls this the reward uncertainty effect. In simple terms, people value rewards more when they're inconsistent, when they don't know when or how they'll get them. It's the same psychological principle that keeps people hooked on social media or games. With dating, unpredictability keeps her emotionally invested because her brain associates you with surprise and stimulation. Here's what that looks like in real life. You're consistent in who you are, but not in what you do. You keep your word, but you're not always easy to read. One day you're funny and playful, the next you're quiet and thoughtful. You might surprise her with a new idea, opinion, or perspective that she didn't expect. You don't overshare, and you don't always explain your moves. That's how mystery is created. Not by manipulation, but by depth. 5. Purpose-driven energy. How passion makes you magnetic. Purpose-driven energy. How passion makes you magnetic. There's a certain kind of man that naturally stands out to women, not because of how he looks, but because of how he moves through life. He walks with purpose. He talks with direction. He's not just existing, he's going somewhere. And science shows that this type of focused energy is one of the most powerful traits that make men attractive to women. Women are drawn to men who have a sense of mission, not in a grand, dramatic way, but in a steady, consistent one. When a man has goals, discipline, and something he's working toward, his energy changes. It's more grounded, more confident, and more intentional. And women can feel energy the moment they're around him. Here's why. Humans are naturally attracted to momentum. When someone radiates passion, whether it's for his work, his fitness, his craft, or his personal growth, it creates a magnetic pull. It signals vitality, ambition, and drive. All qualities that women subconsciously associate with leadership, security, and long-term potential. Think about a guy who's deeply focused on improving himself, not to impress anyone, but because he takes pride in becoming better. When a woman meets that kind of man, she feels something different. She feels curiosity. She senses that he's not chasing her for validation. He's building his own world, and that's what makes her want to be part of it. Imagine this. You're at a cafe working on your laptop, totally in your zone. A woman sees you not showing off, not trying to get attention, just focused. That quiet focus communicates more than any pickup line ever could. It tells her you have direction. You're self-sufficient. You're not waiting for life to happen. You're shaping it. Purpose-driven men are rare because most people live reactively, responding to life instead of creating it. But when you have passion and purpose, it's like a fire that lights up everything around you. Women can sense that fire, not just in your words, but in your tone, your posture, your consistency. 6. The hidden advantage. How self-awareness separates you from hidden advantage. How self-awareness separates you from other men. Self-awareness is one of the most underrated traits in men. Yet, it's one of the most powerful when it comes to attraction. Most men try to impress women by being confident, funny, or successful, but few take the time to actually understand themselves, how they think, what drives them, what triggers them, and how they affect others emotionally. That's where the real power lies. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional energy. We don't just hear your words, we feel your presence. When a man is self aware, he carries himself differently. He's calm in conversation, open to feedback, and emotionally grounded. He doesn't get defensive or try to prove a point just to win. He understands that power doesn't come from being right, it comes from being real. Science backs this up, too. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that self-aware individuals are rated as more attractive because they display empathy, emotional regulation, and social intelligence, traits that signal long-term value. A woman subconsciously interprets that as safety. She feels like she can be herself around a man like that without walking on eggshells. Self-awareness also gives you clarity in your actions. You don't chase validation because you understand your worth. You don't take rejection personally because, it doesn't define you. You don't try to fix women because you understand that everyone's behavior reflects where they are, not who you are. And here's what's fascinating. Women can feel that kind of emotional maturity almost instantly. It's in how you respond instead of react. It's in how you pause before you speak. It's in how you don't let ego control your emotions. Most men operate out of impulse. A self-aware man operates out of understanding. That's rare. When you're self-aware, you automatically separate yourself from other men. You don't need to compete because you're not trying to be anyone else. That quiet confidence, that inner clarity, it radiates. It's not flashy or loud, but it's deeply magnetic. Women may not even be able to explain why they feel so drawn to you. They just know they do. 7. Mystery, the magnetic pull. Women can't explain mystery. The magnetic pull. Women can't explain. Mystery isn't about being confusing or unavailable. It's about leaving space for curiosity. And in attraction, curiosity is power. When a man reveals everything too soon, there's nothing left for a woman to discover. But when he has depth, layers, and an unpredictable edge, she feels drawn to him without fully understanding why. That's the magic of mystery. It keeps her emotionally invested. Science actually supports this. Research published in Psychological Science found that people are more attracted to those whose feelings are uncertain. In other words, when a woman can't quite figure you out, her brain works harder to seek validation and clarity, making her think about you more often. That's why mysterious men tend to occupy women's minds longer. So, what does mystery look like in real life? It's subtle. You don't overshare everything about yourself on the first few dates. You let her wonder about certain parts of you, what drives you, what you're thinking, what kind of man you truly are. It's not about playing games or withholding affection. It's about being authentic, but measured. You show confidence by not feeling the need to explain or justify every choice you make. Mystery also comes from living a life that doesn't revolve around her. When you have goals, passions, and interests outside the relationship, you naturally become more intriguing. A woman senses that she's part of your world, not the center of it, and that contrast keeps her attracted. Here's the truth. Women conclusion. Don't fall for men they fully understand. They fall for men who make them feel something they can't quite define. When she can't predict you, she invests emotionally. And that's when attraction transforms into obsession. Not because of what you say, but because of what she can't stop wondering about you. Here's the truth. The things that truly make a man attractive aren't always what you think. It's not the jawline, the car, or even the bank balance that leaves a lasting impression. It's the energy behind the man, the emotional intelligence, the calm confidence, the curiosity, the self-awareness, and the quiet power of someone who doesn't need validation to feel valuable. Women are naturally drawn to men who feel different. Men who stand out not because they're trying to, but because they're grounded, intentional, and self-assured. Science may describe it in terms of behavior and psychology, but in reality, it's energy. A man who knows who he is gives off an unspoken vibe that says, I don't need to be chosen. I choose. That's what makes women lean in. The controversial truth. Most men are too busy trying to look attractive instead of being attractive. They chase surface level qualities. But real attraction lives in depth. The moment you start working on what's inside, your mindset, your awareness, your discipline, your calm, women will start noticing what's on the outside without you even trying. So, if you've been wondering how to stand out in a world full of distractions and ego battles, the answer isn't louder confidence. It's quieter strength, the kind that doesn't need to prove only to exist. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these traits do you think you already have, and which one do you want to work on? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll be reading and replying personally. Let's talk about what really makes a man unforgettable. Not in the eyes of others, but in his own reflection. First,